Hello YouTube, and welcome to another vlog. I'm gonna do another used bike review. This time it's not my bike, it's my buddy's bike. And we've got a gold, very nice paint job, gold GSX-R 750 from 2005. So the same year as my R6. It's gonna be very interesting to compare these two super sports from the same year. Now this is a GSX-R 750, so it's got that extra oomph down low especially. And of course a little extra power up high. Not that I'm going to be able to explore that on a nice Sunday afternoon, but hey, we'll see. So I'm going to go over what I like and I don't like about the bike from a distance. We're going to go ride it, and then I'm going to give you some final thoughts. Basically going to do what I did. So this is going to be a three-parter video. It's probably going to be quite long, so sit back, relax, and enjoy, or don't. I don't really care. So let's start out with the paint job here. I don't know if you can see it very well. The camera always has a hard time picking these things up. It's kind of like a gold with a bunch of flake in it. Very different colors and stuff. I'm going to try to accentuate that, but we'll see what's going on. Maybe in the shadows. So that looks really good. As you know, for me, paint, whatever. I'm not a big fan of what the bike looks like, to be honest with you. You know, my bike looks like total crap. I think you already saw the bike does need a new seat, or at least some reupholstery there, but hey, that's not going to affect how it rides at all. We going up to the triple tree here. We see no steering dampener, so that's always something to take into account. It looks like we got a whole bunch of preload dialed in, which is good for me since I'm fat. We got some new grips on these bars. They seem and feel pretty nice. I like them. We've got these blade levers. I don't know what to think about these. I haven't tried them yet. I'm gonna have to try them and I'll give you my opinions. One thing I can tell you though is that they ain't gonna pass tech on the track, which stinks for him. We got no mirrors. And not like the mirrors on my R6 really worked, but yeah, we got absolutely no mirrors. That's okay. Down here we got some Q3 or Q3 plus, I can't really tell you, but we got those Q3 tires going on. Hopefully the pressures are set right for me. Down here we've got what looks like stock rear sets, which is probably a good thing for a street bike. Normal shift. I'm gonna have to remember that. Normal shift. Chain looks okay. Nothing. It's a little rusty. What are you gonna do? The sprockets seem fine. I'm not too worried about it. Well, I'm not worried about it at all, actually. Over here we've got ourselves a Yoshimura TRS exhaust. Very nice unit. I mean, I'm trying to keep this one a little shorter here, you know. I mean, we've got a normal braking system here from Suzuki, which is a imagine it's a Nissan, but it doesn't have any kind of branding on it. Looks pretty good. Everything seems fine. One thing is the fairing cowl is a little loose, so that shouldn't be a problem. Let me show you again here. See, it kind of comes up and down, but that really shouldn't be a big problem. Yeah, I mean, this is a good looking bike. It certainly looks better than my R6, both from close up and far away. I'd say the only thing that really needs to be done is that seat, which kind of betrays the rest of the bike. Yeah, so with that done, let's fire her up and see how she sounds and then take her for a ride. All right, so we're gonna fire this baby up. I just got the key. I don't know where to touch the engine. Engine is cold for sure. I just touched it. You don't need any proof. Turn her on. Let's see, Are we in neutral? It looks like we're in neutral. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit the button. Start this bike up. Oh, you gotta use the clutch even when it's in neutral. Yep, here we go. It starts up right away, really nice. You gotta use the clutch even when it's in neutral. Yamaha doesn't have to do that, you just have to hit the button. Sure sounds good. It sure sounds good. What do we got red line here? About 14,000 RPM red line. That's not so bad. I'm gonna let it warm up a bit here, and then we can go ahead and see what it sounds like when we give it a little bit of RPMs. So one cool thing I noticed here, it might be hard to see, it's impossible to see, but this thing actually down here, the temperature gauge doesn't just say low like my Yamaha, it says the actual low temperature, which we got 89 degrees right now, 90 degrees. So we're starting to warm up pretty good. I think I'm gonna give it some revs. Just hear what it sounds like. I'm not gonna rev it too high here, but just give you the idea here. And it's hard. It's hard to see the gauges and stuff on this bike. There we go. All right. So one thing is it revs really quick compared to my R6. The R6 is kind of slow to rev in idle or when it's in neutral, but this thing revs up very, very fast. That's something I got to keep in mind when I'm riding the bike, is that the throttle is going to do a lot more. All right guys, now we're here on the part 2 of our 3-part series. This is the onboard. Let's ride this motorcycle and see how it feels out in the real world. We can go over specs, which I won't. We can go over figures, which I won't. None of that crap really matters. If you want to figure that stuff out, you can go look it up yourself. But what you can't do easily is go ride a real world example of one of these motorcycles. You know, this is a 15-year-old vehicle, and it's going to have its own quirks and good things and bad things and everything in between, and figuring all that out is going to be very difficult. So let's go on and see what we have to say. So the first thing, and I just want to get this out of the way, is that it takes a lot of force to steer this motorcycle. I said before that I did not see a steering dampener on the Triple Tree, and that was correct. But underneath the Triple Tree, there is a steering dampener, and I have to wonder if maybe it is set on an extremely firm setting or something, because this bike really does not want to turn. Yeah, that's really the only thing I can say. It is not confidence inspiring that way, especially when you first get on it. Here we go, here's me stalling. That was 100% my fault. Has nothing to do with the bike at all. But yeah, let's get back to that. The bike just does not want to turn. It really just wants to go straight. It wants to track straight, go straight, and it feels very stable in a straight line. It has a very slight handlebar wiggle that's going on. I'm not really sure what that's all about. I don't know if the two things are related. But yeah, I mean, just watch how I approach these corners here. I'm just not so used to the bike. It's not my bike. And this is just the way I feel that I need to approach these corners, which is quite slow. Now this is going faster than the flow of traffic, let's be honest. You'll see how quickly I catch up to the cars in front of me, which weren't there, you know, at all. But at the same time, I feel like I could, and maybe not should, but I could be going a heck of a lot faster if I were more in tune with the way this bike handled its steering inputs. Again, it's just the force, just the absolute force compared to my R6, and especially compared to my bikes with wide handlebars like the GS or the scooter or the dirt bike. This bike takes an incredible amount of force in the counter steer. So with that out of the way, let's start talking about some of the good things, which is basically every single other aspect of this motorcycle. The brakes, they take a little, coming from being a guy coming from Brembo brakes, these take a little getting used to, and I do feel like maybe they could use some new fluid, but they stop great. They honestly do. I did a couple test stops down in some boring parts of the road. I don't feel like showing it. But when I got on the brakes and kind of got the feel for how they feel, oh yeah, they work great. They stopped this bike on a dime. Well, for a motorcycle at least. They stop fast. They work as you would expect the sports bike's front brakes to work. Transmission, maybe the transmission might be the smoothest 6-speed transmission I've ever ridden on a motorcycle. It is unbloody believable how smooth this thing is. It's so easy to shift. It's super easy to quick shift, you know, clutchlessly shift up. Downshifts are amazing, just fluid, everything's great. It's just so wonderful. Now let's go into, okay, check this out. Look how bumpy the road is there. Wow. I felt like I had to come to a stop to avoid slipping out on a bunch of really, really pothole marked pavement in the middle of the corner, which is just everywhere in the corner. So, how about the engine? That's what this bike's all about, right? This is a GSX-R 750. It's got that iconic 750cc engine. And this one in particular is great. It is just amazing. It pulls hard. It works well. I mean, it just does everything you'd expect it to, and maybe even a little bit more for somebody like me who's not used to it. It is everything you'd expect out of this bike and more. It kicks ass all day. It is a lot of fun, and it is just totally amazing. So now we're coming up, I think, to one of the more longer clips here. So I might give a little bit of a play-by-play here. So again, brake pretty hard for this stop sign, kind of testing the brakes out, but not too hard, you know. Just taking off up a hill. This is actually pretty steep. Of course, the GoPro betrays how steep that really is. Takes off just fine, get out, and now we're going to make a right turn here on the Fairfax Station Road. As many of you know, this is like my favorite road in the area, and I finally got a real chance to ride it. Even though it wasn't on my bike, I get a little chance to rip it, so, you know, taking it nice and easy, not doing anything I wouldn't do on my own bike, and in fact, going even slower than that. Just because, like I said, the steering on this bike, at this point in the ride, I've been riding for maybe 40, 50 minutes, and I felt like I was starting to come to terms with how it worked exactly, and I was starting to come to an understanding with the motorcycle, and that was giving me a little more confidence when it comes to leaning the bike over, and making me feel like, yes, there is nothing wrong with the bike, it's just got very heavy steering. So yeah, and of course right around here is usually where I get screwed over. Let's see what happens. So I come out here pretty fast, get to accelerate a little bit. I get around here, and then I see a car ahead of me, and I just go, ah, my fun time is ended. It's all over. So this actually becomes a little bit of an off-topic thing, because this is kind of funny what these cars are, but this is something you have to expect as a motorcyclist. So you can't just, at least around where I live, you can't just go all out all the time. You can't just go fast. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You gotta manage your speed and ride within a certain limit that is well below your actual limit of riding. Because if you don't do that, you're putting yourself at huge risk for like animal strikes, little kid strikes, just anything that could be potentially in the middle of the road. A stopped car, a fallen tree, power line down, you know, just any one of a number of things can go out there and get you if you're going at your full pace, or even close to it. So yeah, there's a time and a place to go full pace. I'm not going to say, oh, we'll only go fast on the track. But really, I mean, if you're going fast on the street, you have to be willing to accept that it is a bit of a dangerous thing. And maybe it's something you should do for a few corners that you know really well, and then slow down. So here we got a, looks like a little Mopar Challenger Charger. I don't know my Mopars, but it's a meetup here for these guys. So here I am on the wrong side of the road, and I'm very confused about what's going on. I thought that guy was going to pull over, so I tried to get out of his way. Now I kind of rip it a little bit. With a little bit of gas. That wasn't even full throttle. I did not go full throttle once on this test ride, so keep that in mind. me catch this guy. I look behind me. I look behind me to make sure there's no cops. That's another thing I don't like about this bike. I know it makes it look better, but no mirrors sucks. I like being able to see behind me without having to turn around. So, what can I say? So now we're coming up on the penultimate clip here. I just want to show you that at this point, I'd gone around some more corners. I stopped for gas. I'd ridden the bike more, and at this point, riding the bike, the whole heavy steering thing was a moot point. I had completely forgotten about it. It wasn't a big deal, and I actually started to really enjoy my time on the bike. One thing I didn't mention before is the comfort. Yeah, this is a super sport and it is not a comfortable bike, but compared to my R6, this thing is like first class compared to my R6 being like economy class. It is roomy. The reach to the bars is short. I mean, it is a comfortable bike that I could ride all day, whereas the R6, yeah, maybe not. Maybe a little less comfortable. So that's something to keep in mind. That this I think out of all the super sports, you know, you're looking at like the Suzuki and the Hondas are the most comfortable. And it's a big difference. It is truly a big difference between something like a modified R6 with, you know, aftermarket rear sets and a Yamaha. Or I'm sorry, a modified R6 with aftermarket rear sets and a GSX-R 750 that's stock with stock rear sets. It's a big difference. So this is the final clip. There's really nothing to show here. I just wanted to finish things up before everything ended. All right, guys. Like as always, think about your riding. Of course, I'm going to say that again at the end, but look forward to part 3, which I'm going to record pretty soon, where I kind of sum up my thoughts. This is about as much of a review as I can do. Only riding the bike for about an hour and a half. So anyways, guys, look forward to part 3 and thanks for watching. Alright guys, welcome to part 3, take 1. We got myself some Rocket Frog beer, some Angry Alice. Not that any of you are watching this who care at all, but just the way it goes. And we're gonna have a little bit of a talk about what the GSX-R 750 does, what it doesn't do, who it might be for, and who I think it might not be for. Obviously, these are all just my opinions. You want facts on the bike, like, you know, weight and horsepower and gear ratios and suspension, this, that, and the others. Well, there's plenty of other people who have talked about that, but what I'm talking about here is feeling. How did the bike make me feel? And what do I think the person who owns it needs to do? And what do I think the bike is really good at? So first off, what is this bike good at? This bike is good at going fast in a straight line. It is extremely stable. It is very powerful, especially in the low to mid range. And it just pulls like a freight train all the way to Redline. Even though I didn't get a chance to go to Redline, I imagine that it just gets even crazier when you get up there, like much like a little mini leader bike, so to speak. I didn't have a whole lot of wide open roads, so what am I going to do? It's my second time riding the bike, my first time riding it alone, and yeah. I think I got up into the 90s, 80s, 90 mile an hour on the back roads, not on the highway or anything like that, but, you know, in the back road setting where I had to slow down right afterwards. So what I also like about the bike is the brakes. The brakes are amazing. Well, not amazing, but they work. They do what they need to do. There is a distinct lack of initial bite on the lever, but that is more than made up by the braking feel once you start pulling the lever in. It feels good. Maybe a little spongy, but not any significance. I think some new pads and some new fluid, and those brakes are going to feel amazing. I like the transmission. The transmission is super smooth. Yeah, absolutely. Easy to shift up, easy to shift down, very well. I do actually like the levers. They've got those weird levers on it, and I don't think I got enough of a chance to talk about those. Those levers are actually pretty nice. They feel good. The kind of concave shape they have is nice, and they kind of have like a rounded shape. Now they have that little tip at the end that might jab your finger if you get in a wreck, but if you don't get in a wreck, and they feel great. Of course, they got the Q3 tires on them. Those are great. They got some refreshed front forks. The front suspension and the rear suspension are very soft. I don't know if that's adjustable. I doubt it. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's just, even compared to my R6 is too soft, and this is even softer. So it's just really, really soft for a sports bike. That does not lend to confidence in the corners, but it does lend to confidence in a straight line because the bike is able to really soak up those bumps. Although I think a little bit more preload would be good, and maybe a little bit more fast bump compression dampening would be good. But that's just a very amateur, uneducated guess. Like I said, the thing that really screwed me up on this ride was the weight of the steering, the amount of force you had to apply forward on the bars, or push or pull on the bars in order to get the bike to turn the way you'd want. It's very strange because as soon as you let off and stop applying that force, the bike instantly wants to stand up, which is something I'm not very used to. I don't know what that's all about, and I don't think there's anything wrong with the bike per se. I think that's just the way it is. Especially with the steering dampener that it has, the bike wants to stand up and wants to go straight more than other bikes that I'm used to. So that's just a thing you have to get used to when you ride any bike, that they all feel different. They all have their own quirks. They all have their own features. Quoting a very famous YouTuber saying that, but it's true. So always keep that in mind. Now, who do I think this bike is for? Well, I think this bike is more for an advanced rider, someone who wants a comfortable, fast super sport bike that also wants something unique. I mean, that gold paint job is just so unique. The bike looks amazing in person. And I hope that the camera and everything you see can explain that as well, because I love the way this bike looks. I really do. It is a great looking motorcycle. But the fact of the matter is, that doesn't mean anything if you're a beginner rider. Who this bike is not for. This bike has tons of horsepower, tons of torque, and the handling it's not bad, but it's not confidence inspiring. The bike can go around corners like a bat out of hell. I'm absolutely sure of it once you get used to the way the steering feels and just leaning it over and everything. But if you're not used to riding a motorcycle, like you're a young guy or you're someone who's only used to really driving cars and trucks, this bike is going to make you get a weird impression of a lot of bikes and make you think that motorcycles handle like crap, all of them. It's not that true. It's that this bike doesn't have the best, most confidence-inspiring handling. Does it have the ability to corner? Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But handling is more about like confidence and feel. And that's what I love about my GS is the handling in that bike inspires confidence. It makes you want to push harder. But on this bike, maybe this is a good thing. The bike makes you not want to push, especially on the streets, because you have to push the levers. You have to push the bars so hard to get the bike to respond. It's almost like, maybe I should slow down a little more than I normally would for this corner. So with all that being said, I don't have much else to say about the bike. I mean, as a used motorcycle, it's solid. Like I would buy it if I was in the market for a bike like this. I would buy it in a heartbeat. It's comfortable for a super sport. It's got all that low end torque, which is just great. It's not too crazy. It doesn't have ridiculous gearing like a 1000. It's like the best of both worlds. It's like the best that you can get from a 600 and the best that you can get from a 1000 mashed together. The only downside is you need some time to get used to that steering, and honestly, I think if you don't have some advanced rider training under your belt, a bike like this is gonna kind of befuddle you and make you not understand what you need to do in order to ride it fast, like around corners. So, with all that being said, guys, thanks for watching my review. I tried to keep this as short as I can, but you know me, I go on and on and on and on. But anyways, always think about your riding.